Hi everyone. In this video, we will deploy an Apache Kafka cluster using KUDO on Kubernetes. So KUDO is what we call the Kubernetes Universal Declarative Operator, and it's a toolkit that allows someone to develop an operator for Kubernetes in an easier way than what you can do with existing SDKs. And you'll see that in action in a minute, but one of the main difference between KUDO and other solutions is that you get a KUDO controller, which is controlling the deployment and the life cycle of all of the different applications or services you deployed using it. So instead of having an operator for MongoDB and its specific controller, another one for Kafka and its specific controller, and writing a lot of lines of code for all of the different controllers, you just get one unique controller in your Kubernetes cluster, and this controller allows you to deploy multiple services and multiple instances of each service. So you get these operators, the ones that are already exist in this GitHub repository, and we'll look at the Kafka one for the moment. You see we have two versions. One that deploys Apache Kafka 2.2.1, one for 2.3.0. So we'll upgrade from one to another, for example, and things like that. But you can take a look at that in more details later. What's nice to see is just that if I go to the operator, I'll see some templates that describe the stateful set that will be deployed by this operator, and getting some templating features to fill the different information based on the value you provide when you decide to deploy your cluster. But also what you can see here is a very simple YAML file that describes the different phases of the life cycle of it. So I have the deployment phase, and these are the resources I'm using. I have an update phase. Can have multiple different phases, and I can describe on each phase what are the different steps to run to deploy that service. And then you have these params files where you get like all the default values and all the values you can change either before deploying or after, like you will see in the video. So we'll deploy that in a Konvoy cluster. So Konvoy is our Kubernetes solution that you can easily deploy on AWS or on premise. As soon as you deploy it, you access to the metrics through Grafana and the logs through Kibana and so on, and you easily access also the dashboard. Like you can see, we are already in version 1.15.2 of Kubernetes. So I've deployed this cluster, and what we'll do now is that we'll just go through deploying this KUDO controller. As I said, it's a unique controller for your entire Kubernetes cluster. What you can see here is that we deploy some specific CRDs for KUDO, and we'll also go through that later in the demo. And we also have a plan in the near future to use dynamic CRDs, which will be like very neat. So now we have this deployed. We can just check the status of the deployment of this controller. So the controller is now running. We can just start by deploying this Zookeeper cluster that we'll use for our Kafka cluster. I already deployed the extension, the kubectl extension for KUDO, so I will skip this step. So just running this command, I will deploy the Zookeeper cluster, and I spoke about this deployment plan with the steps and so on, so we'll be able to take a look at it now and see that it is currently in progress, so waiting for that to complete. So trying again, you see that it's now complete. So we can take a look at the corresponding pods, and we should see the 3 Zookeeper pods running. So we'll deploy a Kafka instance now, and using this version as I described before, so that we'll be able to do an upgrade later. So I just do the same, kubectl kudo install, Kafka, the name of the instance I want to use, and the version I want to use. And the same way, I can now follow the status of the deployment with this plan status command, and I see this is in progress. So trying again, see it's still in progress, so just a little bit longer. Okay, so it's now complete. So again, take a look at the corresponding pods. We should have 3 of them running, and we can just check that it works well by producing some messages in Kafka and then consuming these messages from Kafka using this one. And you can see this is the default value for this first broker that we deployed. And we can then, after it is running, just try to see the logs of the second one, of the second deployment, so that we see this message is being consumed. So everything works well. What we can take a look at is a little bit of the inside of KUDO. So like I said, we have CRDs that are created for the instances, the operators, the versions of these operators, and so on. And for example, if we want to go and see the different instances that are running of KUDO, we see that we have the Zookeeper and the Kafka instances that are currently running. We'll see that now. And as I said, like there is only one operator that is used, or one controller that is used for all of these SDKs. That's it. There is no other processes that are managing these different instances. We can also get more information about the specific instance, for example, the Kafka one, and see what has been deployed. If it has been deployed by someone else, you want to track it, you want to understand what has been done. You'll be able to see that here. You'll be able to see the version of it, for example, which is quite interesting in many cases. Also, one scenario that you get very often is that you want to upgrade to a newer version of Kafka, so you need to upgrade to 2.3.0, for example, which corresponds to the 0.2.0 version in the KUDO Kafka operator. It's as simple as just running like a kubectl kudo upgrade Kafka command line. And that will follow the same approach. You will be able to follow the deployment plan. So again, going there, be able to follow it and see also what's happening in the background. If I just go and get the instance again, then I should be able to see the new operator version. Like you can see here, 0.2.0. And you can follow also, take a look at the different pods running like we did before. So let me just get that again. You see one is still being replaced, because what KUDO does is that it executes the plan, and then the stateful set have to restart the pods based on the new configuration of this stateful set and so on. So that's what you see, a little delay between the phase being complicated and the stateful set having changed the different pods and replaced them and so on. So it's always good to just check the pods are running and have all been replaced. This is something that will be improved also in the future in KUDO to kind of highlight that in a better way. So everything is now done. Another scenario, which is quite common, is that you get more messages and now you want to increase the number of workers. So it's as simple as just using a standard kubectl patch command to update this instance and to change the broker count. So again, just like run this command here, and we'll be able to follow the plan again and see how it goes. You see it's in progress for the moment. Okay, so checking again, it's now complete. So I can check that I should have my 5 pods, but perhaps it's still, as I said, like being created by the updated stateful set, or the stateful set that have been updated by the KUDO controller. So everything is now running. Another nice thing we can do is that we can just enable the export of the Kafka metrics using this spec, and then we can add a new dashboard in the Grafana cluster that is running on Konvoy here, and we'll be able to get some interesting metrics from our Kafka cluster. So just go there, paste the JSON using the Prometheus database, and we just need to wait for a minute to get some metrics coming. So you see you can now get metrics. We see the 5 brokers and the messages that have been produced and consumed, and if you wait a little bit more, you will get even more information on the way your Kafka cluster operates. So just to summarize, what we've shown is how easy it is to deploy like a Kafka cluster and maintain this Kafka cluster, scale this Kafka cluster, upgrade it to a new version using KUDO. And also I again want to highlight the fact that it's really like very simple to develop a new operator using KUDO. So just like describing the different parameters in a file, describing the different phases in the second file and the different steps of each phase, and then providing templates for your different elements, stateful sets, and so on. So you just use YAML files to create your operator, nothing else. Thank you for watching the video.